For 13 seasons, Cody Brown controlled the story. But one calm sentence from Mary changed everything. And the receipts are finally exposing the truth behind Sister Wives. So hit subscribe right now, because this channel breaks down every hidden detail, every payout, and every shocking twist viewers missed the first time around. For years, viewers believed they already understood the role Mary Brown played inside Sister Wives, because the narrative seemed simple. Cody Brown moved emotionally further away, while Mary appeared stuck in the past, trying to hold on to a marriage that no longer existed. And season after season, the cameras reinforced that image, until audiences almost stopped questioning it. But the most shocking reality television stories are never the ones audiences see coming. They are the ones hiding quietly in the background, while everyone is distracted by louder drama. And that is exactly what happened here. Because while viewers focused on emotional breakdowns, family arguments, and awkward conversations, Mary was doing something else entirely. She was watching every financial decision, every promise, every shift in family priorities, and every piece of land attached to the future they were all supposedly building together. And by the time the audience finally realized what she had been tracking, the entire power dynamic of the story had already started changing. Because this was never just about heartbreak. This was about survival planning. And the moment the cameras finally shifted toward money, the entire illusion surrounding the Brown family started cracking open in ways nobody could ignore anymore. The real turning point did not arrive through screaming matches or explosive arguments. It arrived through calmness, through restraint, through a woman sitting across from her former husband and speaking with the confidence of someone who already knew exactly where every conversation was heading. And viewers could feel that tension immediately, because Cody Brown looked different in those moments. The man who once spoke endlessly about family vision, spiritual purpose, and leadership suddenly sounded cautious, specific, and defensive. And audiences noticed it right away, because confidence sounds different when someone believes the story is fully on their side. But when people start relying on technicalities, legal wording, and exact agreements, audiences instinctively understand that something deeper is happening underneath the surface. And once viewers sensed that shift, there was no going back, because suddenly the entire history of the family looked different. All those years of sacrifice, all those conversations about unity, all those on practical survival. And that practical mindset became even more significant after the legal divorce that changed the structure of the family forever. When Mary agreed to legally divorce Cody so another marriage arrangement could happen, the decision was framed publicly as an act of love, sacrifice, and commitment to the family vision. But years later, many viewers began looking back at that moment differently, because sacrifice only feels meaningful when people believe it will be honored and protected in the future. And once audiences watched the relationships collapse, they naturally started wondering whether Mary's sacrifices were ever truly balanced by equal emotional support, respect, or security. And those questions only intensified once financial disputes entered public conversation. Because money has a way of exposing realities emotional narratives often hide for years. Viewers who once accepted the family messaging at face value suddenly began examining the details more closely. Property ownership, legal structures, separate businesses, individual income sources, and public reports about payouts from land sales all became part of a much larger discussion about fairness, contribution, and long-term benefit. And the deeper people looked, the more fascinating Mary's position became. Because unlike earlier seasons, where she often appeared emotionally vulnerable, the newer conversations revealed someone composed, focused, and remarkably prepared. And that contrast completely changed audience perception, because viewers are naturally drawn to reversal arcs, especially ones unfolding over many years. And Mary's transformation now feels like one of the most dramatic reversals in the entire history of the franchise. She went from being portrayed as someone unable to move forward to becoming one of the clearest examples of independence after the family structure collapsed. And that transformation became even more striking once audiences focused on her business decisions. Because while the family vision around Coyote Pass remained stalled, Mary invested in something fully under her own control. She built her bed and breakfast, established her own identity outside the family system, and created a business carrying her own name. And that detail matters far more than many viewers initially realized, because ownership changes the emotional meaning of everything. It changes how people interpret her confidence. It
It changes how audiences interpret her separation from the family. And it changes how people understand her calmness during financial conversations, because calmness looks different when someone already has a plan. And viewers could feel that certainty in the one-on-one special, especially during the moment that instantly became one of the most discussed lines in franchise history, when Mary calmly told Cody he was no
Expanded. The more Mary public image transformed, because audiences increasingly saw her not as someone trapped in the past, but as someone who may have recognized the instability of the family structure long before everyone else was willing to admit it. And that possibility makes the story even more compelling. Because if Mary truly understood earlier than others that the dream was collapsing, then many of her past decisions begin looking completely different. Moments once interpreted as emotional withdrawal now appear like preparation. Moments once dismissed as bitterness now sound more like frustration from someone watching promises slowly unravel in front of her. And perhaps the most suspenseful aspect of all is that viewers still do not know the full story. There are still unanswered questions surrounding property divisions, financial agreements, contributions, and private understandings made throughout the years. And audiences can sense that, because every interview, every special, and every public statement continues hinting at details not yet fully revealed, which means the larger narrative still feels unfinished. And unfinished stories create obsession, especially when audiences suspect major information remains hidden beneath the surface. Because reality television viewers are not just watching emotional drama anymore. They are watching a long, complicated unraveling involving identity, money, power, and survival after the collapse of a family structure presented for years as something uniquely stable and spiritually connected. And the emotional weight of that unraveling keeps growing, because the deeper audiences look, the harder it becomes to separate performance from reality. Viewers are now questioning everything: how decisions were made, who benefited the most, whose sacrifices were minimized, and whether the image presented to audiences for years ever fully matched what was happening privately behind the scenes at the scenes. And that curiosity continues driving attention toward every new conversation surrounding the Brown family. Because people understand they are no longer watching the middle of the story. They are watching the ending. And endings reveal truths earlier chapters often hide. And if there is one thing viewers have started realizing, it is that Mary may have been preparing for this ending far longer than anyone originally believed. As the Brown family story continued unraveling, viewers slowly realized the most important transformation was not happening through dramatic confrontations or emotional breakdowns. It was happening through silence, calculation, and patience. Because while the public focused on which relationships were collapsing, behind the scenes, something far more significant was taking shape: the redistribution of power. And the deeper audiences looked, the more it became obvious that Mary Brown understood the direction of the story long before most viewers did. Because people who feel secure inside a system rarely prepare for life outside it. But Mary spent years building exactly that: an independent business, an independent identity, and eventually an independent future, completely separate from the structure that once defined her. And once audiences started connecting those pieces together, the older seasons of Sister Wives began feeling entirely different. Moments that once looked awkward now appeared revealing. Conversations once dismissed as emotional drama suddenly carried financial and emotional subtext viewers never fully noticed before. Because hindsight changes reality television in powerful ways, especially when long-term financial disputes begin surfacing after years of carefully controlled narratives. And that is exactly why the January special created such an intense reaction among longtime fans. Because for the first time, the emotional storyline and the financial storyline collided directly on camera. And audiences immediately sensed they were witnessing something more serious than ordinary reality television conflict. Because money introduces a level of reality emotional narratives cannot easily hide. Once discussions involve ownership, contributions, legal agreements, and property divisions, every statement suddenly carries higher stakes. And Cody the composure behind it, She did not sound uncertain, emotional, or impulsive. She sounded resolved. And viewers instinctively recognized the difference between someone reacting emotionally and someone delivering a conclusion they have already accepted privately, long before saying it aloud. And that certainty gave the moment enormous emotional power. Because once someone publicly rejects authority after years of appearing subordinate, the entire balance of the relationship changes instantly. And viewers watched that shift happen in real time. Cody's explanation sounded narrower, more technical, and less emotionally persuasive, while Mary appeared increasingly grounded in her own perspective. And that reversal fascinated audiences, because reality television rarely produces such dramatic long-term transformations, especially transformations unfolding so quietly over time. And perhaps that quietness is what makes Mary's arc feel so compelling now. Because unlike explosive reality television personalities who dominate attention through constant confrontation, Mary's transformation happened gradually, through patience, endurance, and preparation. And viewers are only now fully understanding what they were watching across all those seasons. Because while the public narrative often portrayed her as disconnected from the family center, she may actually have been positioning herself for survival after the collapse, long before anyone else fully accepted it was coming. And that possibility reframes almost every major chapter of the series, because viewers begin reevaluating old scenes, old arguments, and old emotional conflicts through a completely different lens. Suddenly, the catfishing scandal no longer stands as the defining chapter of her story. Instead, it becomes one difficult period inside a much larger narrative about independence, self-worth, and rebuilding identity after emotional abandonment. And even the language surrounding her spiritual divorce carries symbolic weight, because abandonment is not a neutral term. It suggests a deeper emotional reality than simple incompatibility. And audiences notice that distinction, because words matter, especially during highly public separations. And every choice of language surrounding the breakup contributed to the growing sense that viewers had only partially understood the real dynamics inside the family for years. And now, as more financial details slowly emerge, audiences continue searching for clarity, because unresolved financial stories create ongoing suspense, especially when viewers suspect the public still lacks major pieces of information. And there are still countless unanswered questions